I highly recommend that you actually read through this entire page of requirements for the field experience. Um, Doing that means that you have fewer surprises as the semester goes on. You don't want to wait until the last module to read about the field experience because, as you may have noticed, I think it's mentioned in the syllabus and it is mentioned on this page. This assignment is required in order to get course credit. It's one of those high stakes assignments. So you want to do this assignment perfectly and completely and follow, mind all the P's and Q's related to it. So let's talk about setup activities. The first thing I recommend you do, like I just said, is that you read through the whole thing, become acquainted with what this assignment is. Then you need to figure out where you intend to conduct your field experience. There's a lot of rules related to this, although if you read through the list, they're pretty simple. But first let's talk about the types of places you could go. I have a list here that I'm looking at. You can go to a public library, Boys and Girls Club, Atlanta Children's Museum, which people have had a little trouble getting into that in the past, but I think they weren't being squeaky enough wheels about it. I don't think they were trying hard enough, but still, it may be hard to get in there. Recreation league coaching, school board meetings, soup kitchens, after-school mentoring, etc. The University of West Georgia Comprehensive Community Clinic is a good place to watch speech therapy and practice, and actually other types of therapy, although I'm not sure they have it opened up to where you can observe other types of clients. Right now it's sort of, I think, limited perhaps to the speech, to the communication disorders services that they provide. There's other options in this list, and then you may go find something sort of related, but I want it to be something that is out in society. It's probably in a semi-public sort of forum. It's I had a student, like I put hospital service program down. Last semester a student observed in an urgent care clinic and wrote a fascinating analysis of what he was seeing there and what was at play and how these high poverty patients were being treated in that setting. Anyway, there's a lot of interesting public settings that you can go into, so think about it. It can be directly related to your future career path, or it can be a little bit indirect. So I think there's learning to be had from both. Remember, you only need 5 hours because I have embedded 5 hours into coursework this semester. You can always do more than 5 hours. You can do 7 hours if you're really into it. You can do 10 hours, but I have embedded 5 hours into the coursework, so you only owe 5 more. The field experience, I'll go ahead and read this whole list because this is important. It should be a new experience for you. It shouldn't be something you've already done, okay? It should not occur during the regular school day or in K-12 settings. That's a legal thing. It can occur at a K-12 school site after the school day has ended. It should not be part of your job responsibilities. And it should not be unpaid volunteer work at your job. Like some people say, well, if I don't get paid but I'm still doing my job, can that count? Well, no, because the first item is it should constitute a new experience for you. And how is that a new experience? It's something you already do. It cannot count for more than one EDUC course. That is the case. That is true. So you have to get 10 hours for EDUC 2110. That's the course you're in right now. You have to get 10 hours for EDUC 2120 and 10 hours for 2130. So across those 3 EDUC courses, you're getting 10, 10, and 10 for a total or more of 30. So just keep that in mind. You can't say, well, I did 10 in EDUC 2120, so that'll just count. I'll fill out my sheet and use those 10 from that experience and submit that in 2110. It doesn't work that way. You have to do 30 across the 3 classes. Your field experience can take place in more than one context. So it could be that you go do some observations for a few hours of a basketball team being coached, and actually my children have been doing that this spring, and there's a lot to be learned from that. I'd never done that before, and I know a lot of my students have been to rec departments and watched coaching, and I wasn't sure of the value, and now I see the value. It's a really interesting, it's teaching. It's teaching at its rawest, and there's a lot to see there because it's so fast-paced. Those coaches have to get those kids working together as a team very quickly if they're going to make it in the tournaments. It should not be at your church, okay, because that does not constitute a new experience for you, okay? But if you do a cultural crossover and you go to a different church, like a student last semester, she was a Spanish major, who wants to be a Spanish teacher, and she went to a Spanish-speaking church. That was a cultural crossover. She went to a church she doesn't normally go to. It's conducted in a different language, operates differently from what she's accustomed to. So that counts. That's legitimate. But don't go to your aunt's church where she runs a daycare or anything like that. Or your church. All right, so I want you to formally declare your field experience locale and all of the details. You have to figure that out. I want you to try to do that by the end of session 2. Push yourself. If it takes you longer, that's fine, but push yourself to try to get that figured out in the second 2 weeks of the semester, so that by the end of the first month, you know what you're going to do and where you're going to be. And remember, you only need 5 hours, so it's doable. I provided, and so I have a Google form here, a Declaration of Field Experience form. You click on it, and you input your details. Be very detailed, please. And you can input more than once if you aren't sure, or if you change your mind, you can input a second time, and you might send me an email and say, well, I changed my mind and I'm not doing this other place. All right, and finally in this section, I've given you a letter of explanation that you could give to the people who run the site where you want to do your field experience. It may add legitimacy to your request. It may or may not help. Some people don't give a hoot about some letter from some instructor at some university. But some people might say, yeah, this is legit. This kid, this future teacher, future SLP needs some field experience, and I'm going to help him out. And so that letter, printing that out, may help you. So that's there for your convenience. And that's all I want to talk about in this section. Let me know if you have any questions, and you can move on to the next section when you're ready.